Yo, what's going on, guys? I'm Sam. Hope all of you are doing it super great today. iOS 13 Beta 2 coming out a bit sooner than anticipated for developers. There is still no public beta. However, I've got some really good news. Apple initially said it was coming in July, but in a new place on the dev portal where I downloaded iOS 13 Beta 2, they said that it is coming actually as soon as later this month. So it shouldn't be too long before you can easily get your hands on iOS 13. If you're looking forward to the new changes and features in this update, make sure to drop a like down below and of course hit subscribe so you stay up to date on the latest iOS 13 news. Let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so first up inside of the Home app in iOS 13, I do have a Homepod on my network, so I believe it discovered that, and this isn't actually live, like this feature doesn't work yet, but Apple has previewed it today, basically saying that Homepod, this is really cool, can now recognize multiple voices, and it's going to actually just import your voice data, sounds like from your iPhone, directly to your HomePod. It will actually make that recommendation based on my voice and my profile rather than just like the generalized one for my apartment, which is really cool. This is going to be super handy. There's also a new personal request start screen as well, and then also Apple saying, yeah, so this is all going to come out this fall, but right now we're just giving you a little taste of what it could look like. Inside of the Files app in iOS 13 Beta 2, Connect to Server, or SMB, now works. If you have like some NAS storage on your network that you keep files or certain data on, you can now simply log into it directly from the Files app and view it in here really easily. Also new in the Files app in iOS 13 Beta 2 is support for the Apple file system. Moving on to the Maps app. As you may know, in iOS 13, Apple has made some nice changes here. Obviously, Siri suggestions present across a lot of the apps in iOS 13, but there are favorites and collections now, and there's like Street View stuff that Apple has added too, which is pretty dope. And of course, you might not know about this if you've never opened the Maps app before, so there is a brand new splash screen letting you know this is what's new in the Maps app this time around. When Apple announced iOS 13 on stage just about 2 weeks ago now, Apple introduced some new portrait lighting features. The first one here is now finally present inside of iOS 13 Beta 2, High Key Light Mono. Basically, this is going to make your image look like black and white with some more dramatic lighting effects. I'll show you guys an example of what I was able to capture here, but full disclaimer, my photographer wasn't on the site today. Not that I have one, but I didn't have anybody to take a really good actual sample photo, so this is the best we have for right now. Basically, Apple has added that, but only to A12 devices. So even if you have the iPhone 10 from last year, or 2017 I should say, you don't get this feature. It's only for the iPhone 10s, 10s Max, and 10R. So there, you just gained a new feature via iOS 13. But second to that, Apple also announced another feature that wasn't previously available inside of iOS 13, at least until now, as far as portrait lighting goes. So once you take a portrait photo now and tap on the edit button right here, you get this slider down here, and you'll notice at the top there are some new options. Not only can you adjust f-stop, so the actual zoom, focus, and post, or not zoom, I should say, the amount of blur. That's pretty dope. Apple added that with the iPhone 10s, 10s Max, and 10R in the fall of last year. It was pretty dope. Now, though, you have the ability to change the lighting in post, which is something that you can't do in normal photography. Now, it's pretty subtle what you can do. It gets a little bit brighter if I want a more dramatic effect. Now, overall, it's pretty subtle, but the fact that Apple has brought this, again, through software, is pretty neat. I hope that, with portraits, something else other than this plant behind me, it gets a little bit more dramatic and a little bit more noticeable. All right, in the Messages app in iOS 13 Beta 2, was not expecting to see this one, but there are new tapback sound effects. So while selecting them sounds identical, you can hear it right now. The sound is different, and you might say, oh, it sounds the same for everything. No, it doesn't. Here is thumbs up right here. Thumbs down sounds a little bit deeper, more sad. Then you have haha. This one's really cool. I don't know, they put a lot of time into this. Sounds like something more comical. Then you have exclamation. Never heard this one yet. Makes it sound like it's a little bit more urgent. And then question. It just sound confused in some way. Yeah, so these are really cool. Really adds a breath of fresh air to the operating system. Also, in the Messages app, of course, we could also not cover Memoji stickers. Everybody's favorite iOS 13 feature. So you've got this one right here that's new. You're making the peace sign. It's kind of uncanny how I feel similar that looks to me. You got this one right here. Fingers crossed. You're hoping for something. Ooh, better be quiet. I don't know. I don't even know why I'm trying with these. I don't like Memojis. I think they're kind of weird. I feel like people get sometimes too into them, but they're also kind of cute in other times. So I don't know. You guys decide down below. How do you feel about the new Memoji stickers? In accessibility, voice control got a major update with iOS 13. Also, accessibility now being a top menu option. It's no longer hidden inside of general. If you go to voice control down here, whenever it is enabled now, you have this blue icon up here to signify that it is turned on. I thought maybe like tapping it would do something, but it is letting you know that voice control is enabled, and now you'll never forget whether it is turned on or turned off. Plus, it's got a nice little icon. Next up, if you use AirPods or Powerbeats Pro, there's a new feature in iOS 13 called Announce Messages with Siri, where basically if you have either of those headphones in with, I think, the H1 chip or W1, I can't remember. They just put a random letter in front of it this time, but there's a new option for send replies without confirmation. So if turned on, basically whenever you get a text message, Siri will announce the message, and then you can instantly talk and like say, this is my response, and it sends it automatically. Obviously, Siri is nowhere near perfect, so having send replies without confirmation turned on means that whatever happens is gonna happen and get sent to that contact or message or texting person that just texted you. So I would recommend leaving that off, just because you never know what Siri could end up saying. It could turn into a whole miscommunication, but I mean, Siri is pretty good overall, so it could be worth the risk. Also, in settings under notes, there's a new option for sort checked items. You can have that happen manually or automatically, where it automatically moves checklist items to the bottom of the list as they are checked. So it'll make it a little bit more dynamic and sort of keep you on top of your game if it works properly. Moving over to Safari in iOS 13, the share sheet is not new, but this option right here is. So it says, this is my website, this is my article. There's now options for how you want to share this link. So if you tap on that, you get this right here. You can send it as automatic, whatever your iPhone thinks will be the best or most suitable format for the sending, PDF, reader PDF, or even web archive. So that's pretty cool. You now have customization options of how you want to send somebody some content. And rounding out the settings app, I think for now, unless something else is discovered, is inside of the Safari preference panel. Inside the settings app, there is a new show link previews toggle. So you can turn that on or off now, depending on whatever you're feeling for the time being. Now, new wallpapers in iOS 13 is nothing that we didn't know about before, but something that didn't work at all for me was this button right here. It's the Parallax button. Now it actually changes, so it can be Parallax, like that, moves a little bit, or no parallax, which is cool because I kind of like the feature, and I'm glad that they give you the option to enable or disable it. Still, I want to set that as my wallpaper. I also had some crashing issues while setting my wallpaper, and it seems to be corrected now where it's more stable. And that leads me into something about the operating system overall. In some places it's better, in other places I feel like it still struggles. Like, for example, 3D Touch was supposed to return in this beta, but on my iPhone XS it doesn't really return. Like, it's just doing a long press. Basically that would be a 3D Touch, and like it sort of works, but I'm doing the same thing without hard pressing, and it's practically working the same. I feel like 3D Touch has still been nerfed way too much, which is really frustrating for me. It's like a tentpole feature of the iPhone they half wiped out and have just made accessible via long presses. I don't like that at all, and I want it to come back. And Craig Federighi in an email said it would come back, but on my XS it doesn't really feel like it's back. Like, in some areas it seems like it works better, but on the home screen, I'm still really disappointed, and I hope Apple corrects that. When 3D touching in iOS 13 Beta 2, it's really hard to hear. There's pretty much no way I can pick it up on mic, but there is a slightly louder sound when you 3D touch. So I'll try to be really quiet and see if you guys can hear it. It's really subtle, but it feels nice, and there's also like some haptic vibration when you do that. So overall, kind of cool, but also very hard to demo. This one is also pretty small, but inside of the history section or tab in Safari, this text for clearing history, like last hour today, today and yesterday, and all time, used to be blue, but in this update, it has turned red. It looks a little bit more menacing and frightening now. Now, also when opening the Health app for the first time in iOS 13 Beta 2, there's some new stuff here. You've got some examples of data and usage. Basically, do you want to share your data with Apple in some cases to help make the app better, or do you not? So it's up to you, either share or not share. Now, I know this whole time I've been talking exclusively about iOS 13, but I wanted to show you that on the iPad, there really aren't any exclusive features. It seems like the pinning option works better, where sometimes it would glitch out and it would only show me like a couple of them. I'm seemingly able to easily and more readily view all of my stuff over here on the side. I'm still a little bit disappointed that this was the big redesigned home screen on the iPad in iOS 13, but there aren't many exclusive changes here. However, I have noticed the performance seems to be on steroids for this iPad. It's an iPad Pro 2018 running iOS 13 Beta 2. Just seems to be incredibly quick, even for apps that I haven't opened in a really long time. Like, look at that. I haven't opened stocks, and it was just absolutely instantaneous. I think I was opening that earlier today, but let's try camera. I mean, look at that, guys. That response is insane. I haven't actually noticed this as much on the iPhone, though. And I'm gonna be honest, I kind of just discovered that while using it here. I didn't think it was that much improved. I thought it was just a little bit, but let's also try music. A little bit slower in music because it has to like load some stuff. But for apps that it can just pull up the content instantly, wow, really fast on iPadOS. Hopefully those speed changes come into the iPhone and other devices soon. Now for a couple of changes from Reddit iOS beta that I wasn't able to replicate but did want to share with you, as they do appear to be new. For dual SIM, the alignments have been tweaked a little bit, and the user who submitted this says that there is a new font. For non-iPhone 10 style devices, the dock is apparently darker in this update as well from this user over on Reddit. And I haven't seen this yet, but I've seen a number of people talking about it on the subreddit that apparently some folders are showing up as completely squared, which looks a little funny, looks a little bit weird, but I haven't had that issue on my personal iPhone just yet. So overall, guys, want to hear your thoughts as always on iOS 13. What do you think of Developer Beta 2? I thought we might see some more significant changes. Maybe Apple is holding off on releasing some more big ones throughout the beta cycle until beta 3 or 4. Also, stay tuned for that public beta. I'll show you guys how to install that as soon as it's out. But for now, this is iOS 13 Beta 2. Some nice features and changes here, and I look forward to Apple refining the operating system throughout the rest and duration of summer. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like, hit subscribe for more. I've been Sam. Hope you guys are doing great, and I'll talk to you in my next video.